for Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. This marks the Thunder's 5th trip to the conference finals since relocating from Seattle back in 2008. Head coach Chris Finch, he said that this Timberwolves team, they had to prove that last year wasn't a fluke, and they did. Minnesota back in the conference finals for the 2nd straight year, still chasing that elusive first NBA Finals appearance. And to get there, they're going to need a big-time performance from rising superstar Anthony Edwards as he goes head-to-head with MVP favorite Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Wolves have never reached the NBA Finals. Well, it's been 13 years since the last appearance. This is what it is all about. NBA Today starts right now.
It's game time, baby. Y'all ready to ride for me like I'm ready to ride for you?
Yellow, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yellow.
Anthony Edwards. Gilgeous-Alexander. Oh, target! Randall with the stop.
Gotta get another one.
I said it's game time. Yeah, I said it's game time.
You gotta have confidence at an all-time high.
Hey, welcome to NBA Today, where we are live from Oklahoma City. She is our do-it-all analyst and my ponytail twin, Andrea Carter. We invited Brian to join the club.
Where's your ponytail?
I
need a little bit more lead time.
Okay, a little bit more lead time, and Brian will be joining us. Brian Windhorst, our senior writer here. Brian, there are very few places like Oklahoma City, especially in the postseason. We are back here after a several-year delay. Can you just set the stage for us of what tonight is going to be like?
In the July 4th weekend in the middle of the night, back in 2019, they kicked off a major rebuild here in Oklahoma City. Traded Paul George. A couple days later, traded Russell Westbrook. Here they are, rebuilding years later with home court advantage, a chance to try to get back to the NBA Finals for the first time in over a decade. And then the Timberwolves. They were here last year, and they weren't ready for it. They beat the Nuggets in that incredible Game 7. They came into Game 1, and they were overwhelmed. Immediately, it was clear the Mavericks had the advantage. They were playing from behind. They have worked so hard over the last 365 days to get back here, to have a better mindset, to have a better rest. They've done it. So here they are with a chance to rewrite their history for them.
And in some ways, the script has been flipped here for the Timberwolves. Last year, they were the ones coming off of a grueling 7-game series. Now they have the rest versus the rust sort of scenario that they're going to be weighing here. Before we look ahead to what we can see tonight, let's just remember how we got here. The Thunder and the Wolves, they have met 4 times this season. They split those meetings 2-2. Here's the caveat, though. Both Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, they only played in Game 1. We're going to show you the highlights right now of what exactly this looked like during the regular season, taking it back to how those games shook out. The story of this Game 1, this is New Year's Eve. This is the SGA game. He finished 2024, 40 points, 15 of 23 shooting against Minnesota. The other story, OKC turned the Wolves over 24 times, 16 steals, Brian.
Can't happen. If that happens again tonight, it's going to be a blowout again.
You do not want that. February 13th, remember, this is without Julius Randle or Rudy Gobert. Naz Reid stepped up big time.
Naz Reid's been huge. This is why he has won 6th Man of the Year. This is why people were getting Naz Reid tattoos. His ability to put points on the board. He'll be doing it off the bench in this series. He could be a big spark.
27, 14, and 7 for Naz Reid. More on him in just a little bit in that game. To February 23rd we go. This is where SGA tallied 37 points for the Thunder in the win. He led an 18-4 run in the 4th to take the lead that OKC would never look back from. So OKC wins Game 3 of this season series, which brings us to one of the best comebacks we saw in the regular season. We're going to pick this one up. The Timberwolves have been down by a 25 in this one, but Anthony Edwards, a huge block there on SGA. Just a huge clutch defensive play. Here's Anthony Edwards on that block.
Oh yeah, when I blocked it, I was definitely talking a lot of trash, for sure.
And that's what we love about Anthony Edwards, right? They get the win in this one, come back from down 25 thanks to his clutch play in the 4th and overtime. But that was the past. This is now. These two teams, they know each other very well here, Brian. Game 1, what are you expecting?
Okay, so I want to take you back to that last game that they played here, February 24th.
Yeah.
Thunder up 25. Game's in the bag, right? Chris Finch, the Wolves head coach, is like, you know what? I'm going to try something. The 4th quarter of that game, he goes to a 2-1-2 zone. Some would call it a triangle and 2, to force the ball out of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's hands repeatedly, as we just saw here. Guess what? The Thunder, look at this, here he goes again. The Thunder did not react to this well. All of a sudden, the Wolves get going. What I want you to remember is, not in the first quarter on their first possession, guys. Remember how the trap on the zone affected Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Right.
I would not be surprised to see the Wolves come back to that, especially late in game one if they need it.
But the Nuggets ran more zone against the Thunder last series than any series over the last 12 years that we've seen. So now the Thunder has seen a whole lot of that. What are you watching here?
You know, it's interesting. You were talking about Minnesota's defense and what they're going to do against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. For me, in game one, my eyes are on Oklahoma City's defense. I mean, you talk about the Nuggets series, and what did Oklahoma City do so well in game 7? It's not just that they forced 23 turnovers. They scored 37 points off of those turnovers.
Stunning stat.
That's incredible. This Oklahoma City defense, they're coming off of a game 7. They could be a little tired. Who knows if the shots are going to be there, but what can you count on defensively from the Oklahoma City Thunder? Them to be all out, they're going to be connected, and they're going to get offense from their defense. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, certainly something that you can always rely on is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He is the MVP favorite for a reason here. You look at teams with 20 or more turnovers in these playoffs where the Timberwolves are, all other teams combined are here when you look at those numbers. But Chris Finch, he is keying in on SGA. Let's take a listen together to what he had to say about the Thunder superstar here.
It's so frustrating to play this team because they foul a ton. You know, they really do. They foul all the time. And then, you know, you can't really touch Shai. And it's a very frustrating thing, and it takes a lot of mental toughness to try to play through it.
Okay, so SGA, he led the league in scoring. He's coming in at 4th in free throw attempts per game at just over 8. What makes him such a lethal scorer? Because we just heard Chris Finch talking about how much sometimes he looks for those fouls, and he's very, very shrewd at that.
He's so crafty with the ball. And I try to put myself in the mind of the defender, and I would be so frustrated because of the way he changes speeds, right? He lifts you, you're coming down, you can't do anything about it. You talked about he led the league in scoring. He was 3rd in the league in and ones. Now look at the space. He has to operate one-on-one against Jamal Murray. He gives the bump. Now, this might not look like a foul, but watch Jamal Murray's body go into Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It's the way he keeps his eyes on the rim and finishes plays through contact. Again, Alex Caruso is going to clear out. What does that give SGA? Room in the paint to operate an attack. There's a little ball fake there to shift the defense, and this is what happens. He lifts the defense up, you try to go for the shot fake to block it, and you end up fouling him. What does he do great? And one, he finishes those plays. It makes him so tough to guard.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about the Oklahoma City offense is they're so in tune with where to go, let Shai go to operate. He knows exactly where he needs to go. They know where to move. They've got 10,000 hours together, and you're going to see it in the way they play together in a game like this.
And what I love about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, one of my favorite interviews, remember when he was like, my whole life is consistent. Yeah. Right? That was like one of the biggest things.
In everything I do.
My favorite thing, but he has been consistent.
Yep.
8.8 free throw attempts in the regular season, 8.7 free throw attempts in the postseason. That's been a part of his game all season long.
Certainly, this is when we get to this point in the playoffs, the stars need to shine the brightest. That's the SGA side of this equation. But you know, Andrea, that Anthony Edwards has been waiting for this moment, as Brian said, for a year to avenge what his Timberwolves did last season. What are you seeing from him? How's he getting it done?
Well, you know, in honor of our Chiney Ogwumike, what does she always say, right? She always punches her arm, says styles make fights,
yes.
Right? So SGA gets 3 points the old-fashioned way with his and ones, right? Anthony Edwards has gotten threes from the three-point line. The way that Anthony Edwards has been able to knock down threes, when you talk about him being 2nd in total threes in the playoffs, shot 44% in the Warriors series from beyond the arc. He has been lights out from the three-point line, but he sets it up with his athleticism. That's what makes him so tough to guard, because he can get downhill. So watch this. Rudy Gobert rolls to the basket. That's going to draw Santos in when it comes to the help side. Now, Santos is supposed to be at the level of the screen, but he's not. So Anthony Edwards has space to get downhill. You've got to give him space because he can attack him. What does he do? Stops on a dime, elevates straight up, and knocks down the three. Again, with efficiency at 44% in this Warriors series. Now, this is just a one-on-one play. It's the athleticism from the jab that sets it up. He creates the space with the step back, goes straight up and down, and dart. In your face, in your eye. Would be so frustrating as a defender. So it's within the flow of the offense, but it's also one-on-one. He uses his athleticism to set up his three-pointers.
Yeah, and watch the different defenders that they're going to use, the Thunder are going to use on him. They're going to rotate guys on him. But the one thing
Dort starts on him?
I think Dort would start on him, but you will see different sides. You'll see Alex Caruso maybe. Here's the thing about Ant. We have a body of work for him in the postseason now. We've seen him routinely every series have a dominant game scoring. He can do it different ways. He can distribute. Sometimes he's a ball mover, but it wouldn't surprise me if he comes out tonight feeling the moment and tries to put up a giant number. If he senses a little bit of fatigue on the Thunder, he senses a little bit of an opening. He has done this repeatedly. In every series, he's had a transcending game. Maybe that happens right out of the gate.
And coming out for that 7-game series for the Oklahoma City Thunder, that's something that Anthony Edwards is going to be sniffing out. Hey, if you are looking for more breakdown analysis. Oh, hey, I know him. Joining us now is our Dave McMenamin, who will be covering the Timberwolves here through the Western Conference Finals. Dave, Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards, they have been dominating this postseason. They're combining to score over 50 points a game in the playoffs here. But ahead of Game 1, can you just take us inside the locker room? What are they talking about heading into this one?
Yeah, well, Malika, certainly Anthony Edwards is the superstar for this Wolves team, but Julius Randle's kind of like the sturdy spine for them. Second in postseason scoring, second in minutes, fourth in rebounds, second in assists. And really, he's provided a veteran presence for this group after being traded to the team on the eve of training camp. And really, it's been a long journey to get here, waiting 11 years to get to this moment in the conference finals.
For me being here for my first time, it's been a grind to get here for me personally. So I'm just enjoying the moment, having fun with it, taking it all in. My family's having fun with it, and it's just cool to be like one of the last 4 teams playing basketball at this time of the year. So you gotta appreciate it and do everything out there.
Julius told me this morning at shoot-around that he had a conversation with Draymond Green after the second round ended, and he told him how much respect he had for him for the fact that him and the Warriors got to this point of the season, of the postseason, year after year after year. He says he goes online and sees his NBA peers around the league, not just on their first vacation of the offseason, but their second vacation of the offseason, already starting to train for next season while he's still in the midst of this grind now. Nickeil Alexander-Walker said, though, that Julius Randle has really been living in the moment and trying to bring his best to this group every day, and the rest of the team has followed that example.
Hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that second, maybe even third vacation. We all want them. But considering how long Julius Randle has waited to get to this moment, right, it's going to be really exciting to see if he can continue to raise his level of play, because this is by far the best we have seen him play in the postseason. Dave McMenamin, thank you so very much for stopping by our show here. Now, the Wolves, they've played their best basketball down the stretch of the season. And honestly, that's what's gotten them to this point. Minnesota had the second best win percentage in the league since March 1st, with the only team better during that span. Yeah, you guessed it. It's their conference finals opponent in Oklahoma City. Now, our Tim McMahon is following the Thunder through this series. Tim, Oklahoma, they just came off of a Game 7 where they held Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray to a combined 33 points here. But how are they going to handle Ant and Julius?
Howdy, Malika. When you talk about that OKC defense,
it hits different in OKC, friend.
Gritty.
The howdy. It hits different here.
Listen. But we're going to start with a Canadian. He doesn't, Lou Dort might not know howdy, but he knows defense. That's going to be the dude who's going to be primarily responsible for guarding Jamal Murray. We all know Lou Dort's one of the best perimeter defenders for guarding Anthony Edwards, one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA, fresh off of guard Jamal Murray. Series before that had Ant Edwards, so good at navigating screens, sitting down playing one-on-one. One of the few perimeter defenders who won't be overpowered physically by Anthony Edwards. Then we got to talk about Alex Caruso. So much of the Thunder's defensive success in these playoffs has been his ability to guard up. I can promise you this, when Jaren Jackson Jr. was on that first vacation in Cancun, probably woke up with nightmares about the defense Caruso played on him. Nikola Jokic, Game 7, what was the Thunder's big adjustment? Caruso's the primary defender on him. Look, swarming, right. A lot of help. Alex Caruso's ability to guard up is going to be huge against Julius Randle. He said Randle, though, is a little different challenge than Jaren Jackson Jr. because he's so skilled with his footwork, the pivots, the spin moves, the jab steps. But again, expect Caruso and Randle to be one of the best matchups individually in this series.
Yeah, and you heard Jokic after that Game 7 saying that after those matchups, he's going to need to knock back a couple of beers. So Caruso is no joke. Tim, what is the goodbye version of howdy?
I mean, we're bilingual here. It's adios, amiga.
Adios, amigo. Tim McMahon, thank you so very much for stopping by NBA today. I love him. The Thunder, they have home court advantage to the playoffs. But look at this, Andre. It's been necessary. OKC winning their home games by 25 points per game. They have a negative point differential on the road, and their supporting cast sees a big scoring drop-off. Okay, SGA, Anthony Edwards, they will certainly be the headliners for this series. But Brian Windhorst, since about 2 hours ago, has been asking, okay, when is it time? When is it time? When do we get to unleash talking about Julius Randle? Brian?
Yes, with all due respect,
time.
Julius Randle should be in the A block at this point because I want to tell you about this last series he played with the Warriors. He averaged 25, 7, and 7. 6'9", point forward, averaging those kind of numbers. Who does that remind you of? How about LeBron James? He's acting like a miniature LeBron James in this postseason.
Wow.
Being a force with his size, being able to be a playmaker, being able to play different roles on offense, different roles on defense, creating all kinds of havoc for what he's able to do with the ball live when he gets in that triple threat position. I mean, this type of player next to Ant is what's taking the Wolves to the next level. The reason that they are here is because of the way they played down the stretch, and the way they played down the stretch was because of how Randle came back from the injury combined with Ant Edwards. That is what has them live as a real championship contender.
I just love when we're on the same page. When we usually agree, but
Don't
this
get
is
used to it.
what it looks like. We usually agree, but what it looks like on the court when you talk about Julius Randle playing similar to LeBron James, it's affecting every area of the floor, right? It's his scoring, his assists, his rebounding. He has been able to do everything. If we go back to the series against Golden State, in Game 3, Minnesota is down. Watch Julius Randle get the ball. He's got the matchup with Draymond Green. He's got the entire paint to operate. And what does he do? Quick decision, straight line drive, immediate attack to the rim. If he can make those quick decisions and play with that aggression against this OKC defense, Minnesota will be better for it. Now, watch Julius Randle here grab this rebound. Sometimes in the playoffs, it just comes down to who wants it more. That's that athleticism and power that you were just talking about, Wendy. Now, this is the playmaking. He can initiate the break. He can run the transition offense. And when the Warriors send this double team, everybody rotates. Who do they leave? The furthest player away from the ball. But what does Julius Randle do? He finds the player in Anthony Edwards, makes the play, gets the offensive rebound here, finds him again. For the big time three that puts them up even bigger and stretches that lead. Those type of plays are huge.
The Wolves shot 65% off of Julius Randle's passes in that Warriors series. It's playmaking Julius Randle that they're going to need, especially against this Thunder team.
A month ago, Julius Randle had a reputation as not being a good player in the playoffs. Now he could argue he's been the best player in the playoffs.
And that conversation that Dave alluded to with Draymond Green, the mutual respect. Draymond does not respect just anybody's play in the postseason. So hearing that, it tells you a whole lot about the way that his peers are viewing him. You can always count on Anthony Edwards and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, both just 4 wins away from their first NBA Finals appearance. Both go by 3-letter nicknames, and both finished in the top 2 in total points this season. Getting a meeting of scorers like this late in the playoffs, it's only happened a handful of times in NBA history. The first happened in back-to-back seasons. Karl Malone and Michael Jordan. They met in the 97 and 98 finals. Jordan averaged over 30 in both of those matchups, winning the 5th and 6th championships of his career. But that wasn't the last dance for the top 2 scorers in the league, maybe 2 of the greatest scorers we've ever seen. They faced off right here in Oklahoma City back in 2012 when LeBron James got his first ring by besting KD and the Thunder. Now, the more recent occasion, exactly 10 years ago, Steph Curry, he topped the league's leading scorer James Harden in the Western Conference Finals to put the Warriors in position to win their first of what would be 4 NBA titles. And with that theme of first titles in mind, one of these 4 All-Star guards, they will break through. They will win their first title this season. And I love that. I love seeing a first-time champion be crowned. But considering we have that in the forecast, we might as well turn to our weatherman to see what is on Wendy's watch, Wendy's forecast. What are you watching here?
Thunderstorms, lots of thunderstorms, especially when we're trying to fly. All right, let's go. One after the other. Let's start with Minnesota. Okay, I said it once before. I'm going to say it again. Mini LeBron. That is the way Julius Randle is playing in this postseason. He is absolutely doing everything you could dream of from a point forward. He can shoot from the outside. He can take it to the basket. He can play with his back to the basket. He can distribute. He can run the floor. He can get the rebound and create. This is exactly the kind of difference-making player that the Timberwolves were dreaming of when they traded Karl Anthony Towns for him. He's been terrific. On the other side tonight, the Thunder. Let's come on right down here to the Tornado Alley. Don't forget about how important their half-court offense is going to be. They are awesome in transition. That is why when they get those turnovers, they will destroy you. So what you have to do against them is make them play half-court basketball. Look, nobody has done great against the Thunder this year, but when teams have had success, it is teams that have been able to slow them down in that half court. Slow the game down, keep the turnovers under control. All right, let's go up to Indiana, the visiting team, tomorrow at the Garden. Indiana is perfect for their nickname. They want to play fast. They want to go against the grain and the traditions over the decades in the NBA that everything slows down in the playoffs. This is their strategy. It will be their strategy forevermore with this group of players. They think about wearing you down from first quarter to fourth quarter. They think about wearing you down from game 1 to game 7. It worked against the Knicks last year. The Knicks will try to keep it from working against them this year. And how are they going to do that? Well, you know, when they went out and got OG Anunoby and they got Mikal Bridges, technically it was to try to beat the Boston Celtics. But guess what? It will be very effective against the Indiana Pacers, too. Yes, we're going to pay a lot of attention to Brunson versus Halliburton. We know that's a key matchup. Yes, Karl Towns versus Miles Turner will be an important matchup. But the way the Pacers have gotten through their first 2 series is dominating on the wings. And OG Anunoby, who wasn't able to play against the Pacers last year due to injury, and Mikal Bridges give the Knicks a chance to really fight back against those big, powerful, strong wings of Indiana.
And now to Andrea with sports. But since Brian brought up the Eastern Conference Finals, Dre, you got your scuba deer? Let's dive a little deeper here. Game 1 of the Pacers and Knicks series gets underway tomorrow, a rematch of last year's second round where Indiana prevailed in 7 games. But the history, it goes so much deeper than that. The last 3 times New York has made the conference finals prior to this season, they also faced the Pacers here. And just like the last Knicks, they took 2 of those last 3 series. New York took 2 of the last 3 matchups against Indiana this season. All of those games were decided by double figures. 3-point shooting was absolutely key. Let's take a listen to Tom Thibodeau earlier today.
The challenge is always the same, so it's no different whether it's a game or a series. It's to always reset. Each game is different. You have to prepare for that particular game. You're not carrying anything over from the previous series or the previous game. You just got to be right and ready when that ball goes up tomorrow night.
You thought all about the possible NBA Finals matchup that could be happening?
We got to get there first. I ain't gonna worry about something that we ain't there yet. So step by step, you start thinking into the future and ahead. You never take care of the present. So I'm only thinking about right now the series.
As you should be. You cannot afford to overlook an opponent like the Indiana Pacers. But in the ring, on the floor, wherever you may I will take Tyrese Halliburton versus Jalen Brunson any way I can get it. What aspect of this matchup are you watching most closely?
That one, exactly. Those 2. And there's a special place in my heart for point guards, right? Because they control everything. They have to stay aware of who has the hot hand, who hasn't gotten a touch in a while, and maybe needs to get involved in the offense. Do I push the pace here? Do I slow down the pace here? What defense are they running? There is so much going on in the mind of the point guard throughout the game. But with these 2 point guards specifically, and we talk about clutch time, that's what I'm most excited for. Yes, they're going to make a lot of decisions throughout, but those 2 game winners we just saw from Tyrese Halliburton were phenomenal. That game winner against Detroit from Jalen Brunson, and then also the and one that helped him also get the lead and take the win against Boston. The way that those 2 players control the pace throughout the game, find their teammates, set up their offense, understand the defense, but the way they play in clutch time and make plays and seal the game, I just want to know who's going to show up more for their team in this series as they go back and forth.
Certainly the backcourt battle is one thing that you mentioned as well that you're watching, Brian, in your Windy watch. Is there something else you have your eye on here?
OG Anunoby is such an important player. The reason that they gave him the full max this last year is because he's so valuable to use against different opponents. In this series, I'm telling you, Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith, they get overlooked. Go talk to the Cavs. They gave the Cavs nightmares. So when you have Anunoby and you have Mikal Bridges, you have so much flexibility. And don't forget about Josh Hart. The Josh Hart on Pascal Siakam matchup is going to be extremely important. And Bridges is a type of player who they expect and get great defense out of him. When Bridges scores, they're virtually unbeatable. And so that's going to be on the Pacers too. The Pacers have to swing both ways and take care of how Bridges can be a swing offensive player, of how OG Anunoby can be a swing offensive player. I'm telling you, the spotlight will be on the point guards. The rubber's going to meet the road at the wings.
Well, and this is something the New York Knicks have been waiting a long time. Jalen Brunson, we saw him go down in that Game 7 against the Indiana Pacers last year. He wasn't able to complete the mission. Jalen Brunson, that's what makes him tick. games like this, game one, like we're going to see tomorrow. And the farther you go into the calendar year, the more difficult sometimes it can be to find some anniversaries for the New York Knicks. But never fear, we have found one. It's the focus for me. Please welcome to NBA Today, the sideline reporter for the Thunder, Nick Gallo. Thank you so much for stopping by our show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Welcome to OKC.
I am so glad to be here. I've got to ask, I mean, we just saw the laser focus of this man as towels are poured onto him. When was the closest you ever come to breaking? Because you are always just so focused in these moments.
You know, being suited up in one of the uniforms was definitely a first for me, and maybe took me a little bit out of my zone. But I really try to stay locked in and focused because these guys just did something that only a couple hundred people in the whole world can do, which is win an NBA game. And so, you know, trying to be as present for them is really what's on my mind.
Sometimes it even goes over your head. This is incredible, and we had to put him to the test.
Nick, I just want you to know that I took personal care to make sure those were clean towels because I think all of America, you know, is the end of the game. The players are a little sweaty. I don't know the cleanliness of those towels.
Yeah, we made sure.
I think you get extra bonus points for not freaking out about, you know, perspiration. So.
But we've seen the chains, we've seen the hoodie, the T-shirts, and that wasn't in the Western Conference Finals. Do you have any idea sort of what's coming around the corner, what's going to be next, other than us?
I'm bracing myself for just about anything, and that's the cool thing about all of this. It's totally organic and player-led. You know, I haven't had one conversation with the guys about this ever. It just sort of comes to them in the moment, and it's really a great expression of how much they love and care for one another and want to be there to celebrate one another and, you know, have a little fun during a long and grueling 82-game NBA season.
I'm just curious, though, Nick, when did it start? Like, what is the origin story, and how long has this been happening?
Well, when Chet Holmgren got here as a rookie, he actually insisted that every single one of his walk-off interviews be with a teammate. You know, he never really wanted it to just be all about